a large group together online without any technical difficulties. Board Game Blitz is sponsored by Gray Fox Games. This week, we're talking about our experience at Virtual Gaming Con. First, we discuss a couple games we've played recently, unlock timeless adventures, and a virtual escape room. Then, we discuss our thoughts about and experiences during Virtual Gaming Con. Finally, we wrap things up with a look at the etymology of the word virtual. And now, here are your hosts,
Ambie
and Crystal. One quick announcement before we hop into the main episode. First off, we just want to thank all of the patrons of our show who are supporting us on patreon.com. You all make this show possible, and you make it possible for us to upgrade our equipment and do other cool stuff every now and then. But we wanted to make sure that if you are one of our patrons and you are not currently in our Slack channel, please go to patreon.com and check the posts that we've put up recently, because we're planning a cool event, and if you aren't in our Slack channel, you will have no way of knowing about it. So head to Patreon if you are one of our patrons so you can find out about it.
Yay! Recently, I played Unlock Timeless Adventures, which is...
more escape rooms!
Yes, an escape room type game. Came out in 2019, and this is one of the big box Unlock games. So Unlock is the escape room that's replayable. It's a deck of cards and has numbers on them, and they're all different themes. But this big box comes with 3 different escape room games in it. The 3 games are the No Side Show, which is like a circus-themed one.
And that's a sequel to one of the early Unlock games,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. The early one, there's a couple of early ones in that same universe.
Oh, okay.
Like the bad guy, I think that's his name, No Side. And that one's, I think it's like the easiest one too. And the earlier ones are also easy, so that's like more beginner level. The other ones are Arsène Lupin and the Great White Diamond, which is a mystery Sherlocky type one, and then Lost in the Chrono Warp, which is a time travel one. Yeah. So I played these with Toby, 2 players, and I liked all of them again. So I'm really excited by these new big box unlocks because I've been having a great time with all of them. And I think we liked the last one the best. The first 2, so there were some parts where we got a little stuck, but for the most part, it flowed really well. But the last one, it flowed really well, and it went perfectly with like the way we think, I guess. So
I love when those moments happen.
Yeah.
When it's just clicking.
Yeah. So we didn't need to use any hints, which was great, because the other ones we used a couple hints, because like for one of them on the second case, we knew what we had to do, and we just like weren't actually executing it the way that it needed to be executed. But we knew the trick, and then we had to use a hint for that. So that's kind of frustrating. But yeah, so the Lost in the Chrono Warp one, the time travel one, it was really cool with the theme too. Like I liked the story and the theme, as I mentioned in the last episode, where time travel is one of my favorite themes, and I liked how they did it, and I love escape rooms. So yeah, they did it really well, and they have some really neat things with how they do the cards, because they have cards and they have art on the cards, and they have new things with how you can place the cards and stuff. I don't want to go into too many spoilers, but I really enjoyed it. This is the Unlock Timeless Adventures, and I think the third one, Lost in the Chrono Warp, might be my favorite unlock so far.
Ooh, that's high praise.
Yeah. Although I don't remember like all of the other ones, but I know like the early ones I didn't like as much as Exit, but I'm starting to like them more than Exit, maybe. I don't know.
That brings up a good point. I want to go on a tiny tangent here, because I sometimes feel like I don't have great long-term memory about lots of games that I play, but especially escape rooms. And I wonder if that's because they are just a single short time length experience, and they tend to be some of my most enjoyable gameplay sessions, but the details often don't stick in my brain for a long time. And
same here.
I don't know why that is, but I feel bad, because then people like 2 years later will be like, oh, how did you like that one? And I'm like, I don't remember. And like, that doesn't mean it was bad or even forgettable, but those details don't stick for me. And I wonder if our listeners experience the same thing.
Yeah, and I think it might be because it's a one-time play. With other games, even if you haven't played them in a while, you probably played them more than once. So you remember maybe not the specific game experience, but like the game in general. But here is just one experience each time. So it's harder, maybe.
And I would say that a lot of these escape room games, while they do often have at least some bit of story or narrative to them, sometimes that connection can be a little bit loose. And so then in reality, it is kind of just a series of puzzles.
Yeah.
And that seems harder to commit to memory. Whereas if the narrative was really strong, I imagine it might be easier to remember. So like if you had, I mean, if a game existed that was like Legacy of Dragonholt, but with puzzle solving too, first off, now that I've said that out loud, that sounds like the best thing ever. And I would like that, please. Like a really long narrative experience that was also puzzle solving. That, yeah. And that, I guess, like Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, that doesn't seem like the same thing to me, even though... I don't know. I'm going on a tangent for no reason at this point, so I am glad that you liked the Unlock Timeless adventures.
Well, in these three, they had pretty good story, I think. Like, the theme worked really well, and it had, like, a flow to it. So, at least the last two, I think, were more memorable for me, too.
Okay.
Oh, well, we'll see in, like, 2 years. But
right.
Yeah. But I thought it was good.
Very cool. Well, I also played an escape room, but mine was a little bit different. I had heard that during the pandemic, some physical escape rooms were making changes to be able to continue operating when they couldn't open their storefront. And I had heard that some of them were doing virtual experiences in their physical spaces. And I was like, well, that sounds really interesting. I wonder how that would work. This weekend, I got to try one.
Cool.
So Conundrum Escape Rooms, which is based in Colorado, has 2 rooms that are set up to do virtual play. The one that I did is called Virtual Hollywood Mystery. And the way that they facilitate this is you and whoever else you want to have participating with you, doesn't have to be in the same room, you can be anywhere in the world, theoretically, all get on a Zoom call with a person in the escape room building. That person is your guide and also a character in the story. So and again, I'm not going to spoil any of the details of how this works, but basically our guide, his name was Levi, and he was a detective that had been previously kicked off of another case because he was, inept and couldn't do anything right. He was wearing like a trench coat and a hat, like he was dressed for his part, and he had a camera with him that he would take around. We went into the physical escape room like you would in a real escape room, and then he would like pan around, show us things, and do basically whatever we told him to, because since he was an inept detective, obviously he wasn't solving anything for us. But so we would say, okay, we want to go look at the dresser, or we want to look at the wall, or whatever. And I kid you not, I've been to a bunch of real life escape rooms. This felt nearly identical to that for me.
Wow. It sounds like a real point and click adventure.
Yes, it really was. And they had, for small details on specific items that would be kind of difficult to see through the camera, they had screenshots prepared of those items so they could bring those up during the Zoom call so we could see them more clearly. I absolutely loved this. So the virtual room costs a total of $75. They have 2 virtual rooms, and I will be playing the other one that they offer in the near future because I had so much fun with the first one. But I think if you get a group together, even if it's, local friends, but everybody's at home, everybody gets on the Zoom call, this experience was a 90-minute experience, and I think it was well worth the price, especially if you split that up amongst your group members. I loved it so, so, so much. And we literally got out, we solved the mystery with, I think, 3 minutes remaining of our 90 minutes. We were really far along with 20 or 25 minutes to go, and then we kind of got stuck for a while. Yeah, and it was neat because Levi was able to give us hints if we wanted. And it was neat because since he was in the room with us, it was a more helpful way of providing hints than normal because he could provide different types of hints. He could speak in character. He could just move the camera a specific direction or point it at a certain thing. And then he could, theoretically, if we had wanted to, he could tell us stuff, more specifically. But we didn't ever really get to that point. he usually was able to kind of just very gently guide us. And it was just so seamless. He was wonderful. I don't think anyone from Conundrum Escape Rooms probably listens to our podcast, but promote Levi. He's wonderful. I was enamored with the whole experience, and I would highly recommend it to any of our listeners. If you're looking for a fun thing to do with your family or friends on a weekend and you're, all safely at home because of the pandemic, this is a great option. I will have Ambie put links to the Conundrum Escape Room's website in our show notes, so it'll be easy to get to. But yeah, I cannot speak highly enough about this place and how they did this specifically. Oh, and for content, as far as like family friendliness, I can look and see the difficulty rating on their website is moderate. And I'm trying to see if there is like an age thing. They don't have an age thing listed. I would say, so the loose story here is that a Hollywood starlet has been kidnapped, and you have to figure out who took her and where they took her to. These are not spoilers. That's the premise of the room. So there are some creepy references to her kidnapping, but nothing that is overtly adult in nature. So I would say it is probably safe for most kids in that regard, but obviously parents can judge that on their own.
It'd be cool if a bunch of places start doing the virtual thing, because then you can just try a bunch. Because the problem with being able to try a bunch is that, like, you have to travel.
Right.
So.
Like, you could try right now, like, in theory, I don't know obviously what businesses are doing this, but like, we could do an escape room in Australia or Korea or whatever. Like, if businesses pick this up, like, you could open your audience to worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I specifically enjoyed about this one that I didn't realize would happen in advance is I am that person that tends to dwell on items in an escape room that are completely useless.
Mm-hmm.
And because our physical presence was a person familiar with the room, like, he wasn't leading us, but if we tried to open a thing and it didn't open, he would just say, yep, this drawer is locked, it doesn't open. So we wouldn't have to be like, am I doing this thing wrong? Or did I, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to manipulate things more than you needed to because he knew how to manipulate the things.
Yeah.
And
that
it was
could
always
save
in
time
character.
too,
Yeah, it was just so perfect.
Cool.
So that was Conundrum Escape Room's Virtual Hollywood Mystery. All right, Ambie, as we are recording this, Virtual Gaming Con is in its final day. It is wrapping up. So for those of you who are not aware, Virtual Gaming Con is the online convention co-hosted by Board Game Geek and the Dice Tower, and it was a weekend filled with scheduled and unscheduled events and board games online.
Yep.
Ambie, what did you think of Virtual Gaming Con, and what did you do during the event?
So going into Virtual Gaming Con, I was not expecting to be able to participate much because my schedule is pretty tight.
I mean, yeah, two less than 1-year-olds will generally do that to a person.
Yeah, so I'm really only available for gaming after 7 p.m. Pacific each night, which for people in the US, it's usually difficult to game because the people on other time zones are already like late and going to sleep then. And also, I don't really like digital board games. Like, I've played on Board Game Arena, and I guess that's the main big one. I've done apps too, but I don't really like them that much because I like being able to see the whole table, and I don't know, I just don't like the interface usually. So I wasn't expecting much, but then I actually had a lot of fun, and I was actually able to participate a lot more than I expected. So they had like a big Discord server, and they had a bunch of events going on, and they had a Looking for Games channel. So whenever you're looking around for open gaming, you can go in there. And I actually was able to play a game one of the evenings just by going in that channel, because that was like the one evening that I was completely free. So I was able to play a game of Fantastic Factories on Tabletopia.
I love it. So was that your first time playing the game? Or
Yeah, it was my first time playing the game. Gil Hova actually taught me.
That's awesome. Okay, so
Yeah.
I know, pause for 2 seconds, very quick. What did you think of Fantastic Factories?
I like the engine building part. I didn't really like the dice, because I don't
Okay.
like dice. I don't like dice where it's just your dice and you your own dice pool. But yeah, I like engine building stuff, so that part was fun. But Tabletopia, I do not like. So, like, the interface is laggy, and I don't know if it's just my computer or because I was playing in the browser. I'm not sure. But it was laggy, and it was hard to control the things. I would, like, try to discard a card, and it ends up tilting over the deck of cards because you didn't put it in the exact right spot. So I was like, okay, I still don't like digital games after this. But then I played The Crew with you on Friday, I believe.
I think that was Friday, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So you convinced me to download Tabletop Simulator. Or to buy and download Tabletop Simulator.
So was this a mistake or no?
No, it was not a mistake because I actually liked it.
Yay!
So this is like the first time I liked, well, I mean, I think I like the platform.
Yeah, I think Tabletop Simulator, when a mod is set up well, it works really well.
Yeah, so I guess that was a good mod. I haven't tried any other games on it yet, so I'll have to try other games. But yeah, it was good. Like, I could see there was the right amount of rules enforcement. When you put the cards in where you wanted them to go, they went there. And like, I could see what I needed to see, so that was cool. I had a lot of fun with that.
We played The Crew Friday night, and then I also taught The Crew to some people on Saturday. Well, they had kind of played it previously, but it had been a while, so it was kind of a short reteach. But yeah, so I got to play The Crew 2 different days with 2 different groups, and one day we got to level 6, right?
Yeah.
And it took us a while to beat level 6.
Yeah.
And then the next day, I think we got to either level 6 or level 7. So it was like right around the same. Level 6 is hard.
Yeah, the limited communication. It's so much better with 5 players than with 2 players, though. Like, with 2 players, we don't need the communication because it's very rare that, like, you don't have multiple cards of a suit in 2 players. So with 5 players, that happens more often, so it's more dangerous playing the suits because like someone might only have that card. So yeah, it's way more fun with 5 players.
If I had to guess now, obviously, like, a single play of The Crew is playing a level, and that's really quick. But I think now I've probably played The Crew, gosh, how many times? I haven't been tracking, so it's hard to know for sure. But I think I've played The Crew somewhere, like, in the vicinity of, like, 30 to 35 times, probably. And I still love it just as much, if not more, than when I first learned it on the cruise.
Nice. I'm checking my place.
I have been doing such a horrible job of tracking during the pandemic. Now, admittedly, I'm playing less also, but the thing is, I never used to track digital plays, even pre-pandemic. So when I would play a game on Board Game Arena, like, that's a real game. Like, if I played For Sale or Coloretto on Board Game Arena, I theoretically should be tracking those plays because I played the game, but I've never done that, and I haven't started doing that during the pandemic, even though I should, because I guarantee you we're going to be recording an episode at the end of this year, and I'm going to be looking at my tracked plays and going, oh, like, it's going to be bad because I'm going to have no idea. I mean, I'll have an idea, but it's so much more helpful when I track, and I hate tracking, so I've gotten lazy.
Yeah, I've been tracking my digital plays. I still don't play many digital games, but for this weekend I did, because they're live plays, like live digital plays I tend to track. And especially since we were talking on Discord, it's like, it was more like we were actually playing a game together.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it felt more like a board game. That was another thing. Like, it felt like we were playing board games with people, and it was easy to get into board games with other people with the Discord. So that felt kind of like a convention. And
it really did, and more so than I expected.
Yeah, me too.
I have not attended the other virtual conventions that have been happening over the past month or two, so this is not a point of comparison to those. But in my opinion, the way this virtual convention was run should be a template upon which other virtual conventions are run, or other virtual conventions should look at this and try and take some learnings away from it, because having the Discord server, having the pre-scheduled events in tabletop events, caters to all different types of gamers, because some people really like to schedule everything in advance and know what they're going to be doing, and other people like me tend to not schedule as much stuff in advance and kind of just want to play it by ear, especially because, like, you know, I get migraines frequently and other stuff like that, and that stuff still affects me whether I'm sitting in my office at home or whether I'm at a convention, and so it's hard for me to commit to certain things because I don't want to end up, you know, like with a migraine in bed and not be able to make it to a scheduled event. So
yeah, I kind of wanted to do scheduled events, but then I was like, oh, but what if, like, I can't do it because what if, like, the babies go to sleep later or something? So I was like, yeah, I'm just not gonna do that.
So did you play any other games?
No, except, well, there was a scavenger hunt thing.
Yeah.
Run by Nona Knows Games on Instagram and Facebook. She ran a crazy 88 scavenger hunt thing. So there were 88 different tasks that you could do. And you just do as many of them as you want to, and you can be as creative as you want. Like, you get extra points for creativity. But we were doing it for fun. Crystal and I were on a team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there were a lot of fun things to do, like
taking pictures with board game components, or making something creative out of, like, doing a drawing or a craft.
Yeah. I'm making something out of toilet paper. I made a dice tray out of toilet paper and then a dice tower out of the toilet paper tube.
And that was really cute. I loved that.
Yeah, so it was just a lot of fun for, like, when you aren't gaming. And that was great for me because during the day, I don't have enough time to be gaming, and I have, like, little pockets of free time, so I could just do some of that while I had free time. And it was great inspiration for, like, doing creative stuff.
Yeah. We definitely didn't get all 88 tasks done,
No,
but I don't think that was ever our goal.
No,
so.
It was just fun.
Yeah. So that was really cool of Nona to put together, and I would love to do stuff like that in the future as well. Mm-hmm. So some other games that I played during the convention. So I did teach the crew. Like I said, I played the crew 2 different nights, a whole bunch of times. I played Kingdomino with my friend Amanda, who Amanda Panda is her screen name. She's been on a lot of the Dice Tower streams and stuff like that. She and I played Kingdomino together on Board Game Arena. I tried out the beta Downforce on Board Game Arena, which was really fun. And then I did the virtual escape room with some friends, and Ambie and I hosted a karaoke night.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was so much fun. Right after the closing ceremonies on Saturday, we did a live karaoke night and had some people join us and get to sing, and it was really, really fun. And Ambie and I think you and I have talked that we would kind of like to do this karaoke more regularly.
Yeah.
And then Derek Porter actually put on a rock band event on Friday night that Ambie got to participate in with a pre-recorded audio clip. I cannot describe to you all how cool the setup Derek had.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was so neat.
It worked so well too. Well, like when it, other than like, there were some technical difficulties, but like his setup worked really well.
Yes, and they did kind of iron out most of the stuff after the first, like, 20 minutes or so. Mm-hmm. I believe they recorded the whole thing and are going to release it somewhere, but I'm not certain where or when. If we get word of that, we'll obviously shout about it on our social media, but it was really neat because a whole bunch of board game celebrities, like Ambie and Z Garcia and Eric Summer, all came and did singing, even though they weren't there live at the event. It was just so cool.
Yeah. And it was so fun to watch them all. All the songs are so good.
And it was like a really neat amalgamation of different types of music and different styles of music, but somehow it felt cohesive anyway. I don't know. It was
because it was really all rock band.
Yeah. So, final thoughts, Ambie. Virtual Gaming Con. What do you think that this experience will make you more inclined to want to participate in other virtual conventions going forward?
Yeah, I think so. I liked it. So I would like to participate more in virtual conventions. And also now that I know that it's possible for me to like Tabletop Simulator. And I have it now, so I can be playing more games online with that. maybe even not at a convention. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, I'm always down to play the crew.
Yeah.
So if there's ever an evening that, like, even if it's just you and Toby and me, I don't care. Like, we can hop on
Toby
and play
has to get it.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe we could find some people in the Blitz Slack. So that's another reason for people to join our Slack channel, because that's how we solicit gamers occasionally. Like, hey, we want to play the crew. Who wants to play with us?
Yeah. So what did you think of the con? Would you go to future virtual cons?
I think I would. I think it's not that I doubted the ability to hold a virtual convention. I think I just didn't understand how it could simulate some of the things that happen at a real convention. And I think this did simulate a lot of the things at a real convention really well. You know, publishers had their own channels in the Discord where they could demo things and show stuff off, like if they had a booth at a convention. And you could wander over to that channel if you wanted, just like you could wander over to a booth if you wanted. And then, yeah, unlike a real convention, you know, there were channels where everybody could be there all at the same time. You can't do that in a real convention. Even if everyone's in the same room, it's still a lot of people in a giant physical space. It's not like you can talk to everyone simultaneously, but here you can say something and have everybody hear it. Like, I really want to play X game, and everyone in that room will hear you say that, and if they're interested, they can speak up. So I actually think, while there are parts of an in-person convention that you can never completely duplicate, I think that there are some benefits over physical conventions that a virtual convention has.
Yeah, like the looking for games was so much easier, I think. That was amazing.
Yeah, instead of just like wandering into an open gaming area and awkwardly, like, it's less awkward to just put a message out there and say, hey, you know, what's going on, than to wander into an area full of strangers and be like, play
a game with me.
Right, like, even me as an extrovert, I have trouble with that sometimes, so I can't even imagine what it's like for people who are less extroverted than I am. So yeah, 2 thumbs up for Virtual Gaming Con, and not just because we are affiliated with the Dice Tower. You all know we would tell you the truth if it was not great, and honestly, it was awesome. So I hope to see more events like this in the future. For this week's etymology segment, I'm going to dig into the history of the word virtual. The English adjective virtual originated in the late 14th century when it meant influencing by physical virtues or capabilities, or effective with respect to inherent natural qualities. It can be traced back to the medieval Latin word virtualis, which came from the Latin word virtus. That word meant excellence, potency, efficacy, or, more literally, manliness or manhood. The computer sense of the word, meaning not physically existing but made to appear by software, didn't appear until 1959. All I know is that I'm grateful to have virtual ways to experience things, attend events, and hang out with friends, until it is safe for everyone to do those things in person again.
And that's it for this week's Board Game Blitz. Visit our website, boardgameblitz.com, for video and blog content, as well as to get links to all our social media pages. This episode was sponsored by Grey Fox Games. For the month of July, you can get 20% off your order of all non-exclusive items sold at greyfoxgames.com by entering the promo code SUMMERBLITZ at checkout. One game you can pick up is Reavers of Midgard, an epic strategy game where you send your warriors out in hopes of obtaining the most glory. Grey Fox Games. Quality games cleverly crafted. Did you know you can support our show and get cool perks for as little as $1 a month? Become a patron to listen to unedited episodes and join our private Slack channel, which lets you chat with us and other Blitzkriegers directly. Head to patreon.com/boardgameblitz to become a patron today. Our theme song was composed by Andrew Morrow. Technical support provided by Toby Mount. Board Game Blitz is part of the Dice Tower Network. Until next time, they say just go. They say I'm waiting. They check their watch. While minutes churn. It's not my turn. It's not my turn. It's not my turn. It's not my turn. Bye, everyone!
Bye!
There were a lot of fun things to do, like, and I completely forgot everything we did. All non-exclusive items sold at Grey Fox Games got that.